Namaste, Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita with me. We are reading the verses translation and commentary by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We will continue our reading today from chapter 2, verse 4, and I'll get started now. Those of you who are joining in for the reading for the first time, I request you to please start listening right from the beginning, and in no time you will be able to catch up to where we are. Thank you. Verse 4. Arjuna Uvacha Katham Bhishmam Aham Sankhye Dronam Cha Madhusudana Ishubhihi Pratiyochyami Pujarhava Arisudhana. Translation. Arjuna said, O killer of Madhu, Krishna, how can I counter-attack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? Purport. Respectable superiors like Bhishma, the grandfather, and Dronacharya, the teacher, are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counter-attacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then how is it possible for Arjuna to counter-attack them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather, Ugrasena, or his teacher, Sandipani Muni? These were some of the arguments by Arjuna to Krishna. Verse 5. Gurun ahatvahi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhaiksyam apihaloke hatvartha kamamstu gurun ihaiva bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradigdhan. Translation. It is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though they are avaricious, they are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted with blood. Purport. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance, although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers. But Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. Verse 6. Na chaitad vidmaha kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyuho yan eva hatvana jijvishamaste avasthitaha pramukhe dharta rashtraha. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence. Nor was there certainty of victory because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory awaited them and their cause was justified, still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely prove that he was not only a great devotee of the Lord, but that he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge, and without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. Verse 7. कार्पण्यां दोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वं धर्म समुद्धचेतः यच्छ्रेयः स्यान् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तं मे अशिष्यस्ते हम संधि मम त्वं प्रपन्नम्. Translation: Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purport: By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not, therefore, remain in material perplexities but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Garga Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yo va etad aksharam gargi avidit vasmal lokat praitisa kripanaha, which means he is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. The Kripanas, or miserly persons, waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children and other members on the basis of skin disease. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself, and yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without. And one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. With this, we will conclude the reading for today, friends. What an important section we are reading, and as we are going through this pandemic of coronavirus, I think all this is making a lot more sense to all of us, and we can relate to what we all are going through. And probably it's the right time for us to introspect where we are, how things are going on within us, and probably what's the right approach for each one of us to be living our life today and for the times to come. Before I end this session, I want to actually address a couple of things based on the messages and calls that I have been getting. Number one, I think a few of you have the question if I am a guru. Answer: no. I am on the journey of the spiritual path. I am just a disciple. I have a guru. I have taken initiation, and I have joined an institution, started the study, but I am very much a student. I am not a master yet. So that's one clarity that I want to give. However, when I am addressing all of you, I am trying to not just convey what I am reading directly from what has been written by the great masters who happen to be my guru and param guru, but also from my own understanding. I am sharing whatever I can, my own little realizations, and if you ask me questions, some I may be able to answer from where I am. I have been a student for last 15 years, but for some questions, I may need the help and support of my God brothers and God sisters, which I will be taking. So therefore, your knowledge is not going to be restricted with what I have, but actually I'm going to take whatever I need to take from this whole treasure house that I have in the form of my spiritual family, which I have got through my Guruji, right? And I also want to actually inform all of you that a lot of you who are subscribing me on this channel, thankfully so, I'm so happy to see so many of you interested in listening and are following through. But a lot of you are coming in on my Facebook page and becoming friends with me. I'm happy for that as well. If that is the I would say better way for you, easy way for you to feel connected with me, I'm very happy to be connected. But I think I'm a little overwhelmed at this stage at the number of invitations I'm getting. I'm not even able to look through the profiles before I accept the friends request. Each day on an average I'm getting over 400 invitations. It's a bit too much, so I will request you through this channel in the comments section. We can get started with any conversation that we need to have on the topic. I want to clarify that I am not somebody who just accepts friends' requests and would say good morning, good evening, hello, how are you, what are you doing, and stuff like that. I really don't have the time for that. So I would request you not to come forward and become friends with me and try to speak to me in those terms. And definitely I don't take calls from numbers that I don't recognize. I do not receive WhatsApp and Messenger calls for sure. So please stop calling me on that. If you need to speak to me on something, message me on what is the topic you want to discuss with me, and based on that I will definitely revert back to you. And if we need to have a conversation, I'll be very happy to have a conversation, but please understand that I will not be able to pick up every phone that comes to me. It's a bit difficult for me to manage, right? You can also write to me on an email ID I'm going to share in the comments section. You can write to me, that will be very personal, and you can share anything, and based on our initial conversations, we can take it forward with a call if we need to. I hope you all understand, and you will not misunderstand me that I'm being egoistic in not taking your calls or anything. I once again thank you for taking advantage of this reading, and frankly that's a huge encouragement for me to continue the reading and share this with you, and this I take as my little service for my Guruji, and it's a great honor to be doing this. I request all of you once again to please stay home, stay safe, take care till we meet next time. Thank you. Hare Krishna.